must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Good morning to you, and thank you so much for finding time to be with us today. It is the 22nd of November 2021. The show is Good Morning Africa, and my name is Miriam Ogutu. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're tuned in today. So I'll just take us through the headlines this morning, and then I'll bring in my panelists, and we shall have some very important conversations this morning. On the Standard newspaper, the main headline: Speaker on Uhuru Raila secret pact. In a candid interview, National Assembly Speaker Justin Muturi, a close ally of President, shares tidbits from his interactions with the head of state, who he reveals told him about the handshake and Raila's retirement from politics. The story is on page 6 of the Standard newspaper. State of devolution, the hits and misses as Makueni County hosts the 7th annual devolution conference beginning tomorrow. We take stock of how far we have come as a country and the expectations. The story is on page 8 and 9 of the Standard newspaper. And no COVID jab, forget government services next year. The story is on page 4 of the Standard newspaper. And then we turn our attention to the Star newspaper, and the main headline on the Star newspaper: Kalonzo calls key party meeting to decide 2022 bid. Wiper leader says he will not play second fiddle to anyone. The story is on page 4 and 5 of the Star newspaper. Good things come to those who bait, and that is the main pictorial there. On Kalonzo's OKA rally yesterday. One Kenya Alliance had a rally yesterday in Naivasha town. Juma parents call for harsh punishment, and Patrick Odhiambo, the father of convicted terrorist Joseph Juma Odhiambo, wants the government to give his son a merciless sentence for attempting to escape from Kamiti Maximum Prison. He believes that for his terror links and his escape from jail, the 30-year-old Juma, alias Yusuf, should be behind bars for a very long time. The story is on page 3 of the Star newspaper. Chebukati on the warpath with poll stakeholders. The story is on page 6. I could smell death, says survivor of rare blood cancer. The story is on page 14 and 15. And a presidential series, Dr. Alfred Mutua, the Machakos West Wing. The story is on page 10 and 11 of the Star newspaper. And on the Daily Nation, the main headline: Maraga, top lawyer in ugly court battle. In his response to a defamation suit filed by retired Chief Justice David Maraga over 220 million Kenya shillings bribe allegedly given to the Supreme Court judge, city lawyer Abdel Nasir Abdullahi claims the retired CJ has a history of soliciting favors. The senior counsel also questions Mr. Maraga's lifestyle and source of wealth. The story is on page 7 of the Daily Nation. And Ruto, I'll win State House race in first round. You'll find that on page 4 of the Daily Nation. Give us DP slot. Western tells Raila. One Kenya Alliance, we are not in talks with the Deputy President. The story is on page 4. And junior high rollout gets 4 billion Kenya shillings boost. And no beer travel without COVID certificate. The story is on page 6. And phones flash disk to unravel Kamiti prison break puzzle. The story is on page 10. And police probe mystery death of BBC journalist in the city. The story is on page 11. So that is what we have on the front pages of the leading newspapers this morning. So I'm joined by Sharon Gitonga, a public relations expert and a journalist from Nairobi. Sharon, a very good morning to you.
Very good morning to you, Miriam, at the headquarters in Nairobi. My colleague panelist, Samuel Tawish, and to all our viewers are watching us, from wherever they're watching us, whether it's the morning, afternoon, or evening. Good morning.
Very well. And we're also joined by Samuel Tawish. We missed him for a couple of days, but we see he's back. Samuel Tawish, a very good morning to you. Very well. So while Samuel Tawish is just setting up there, there is a rally that One Kenya Alliance had yesterday. The Standard newspaper, the story is on page 7 of the Standard newspaper. All right, so One Kenya Alliance principals have vowed to remain united even as they are enticed to back either ODM leader Raila Odinga or Deputy President William Ruto's camps. Speaking in Naivasha during a church service at AIPCEA Church in Kinamba, the leaders maintain that they will stand united to the last minute. Speaking to the congregation after the church service, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka termed as lies reports in the media that Raila and Ruto had offered them deals. Hear one thing. It was reported that One Kenya Alliance principles are being sought by others to support them. We tell them that One Kenya Alliance, we are the ones to welcome the others to join us, said Kalonzo. The former vice president was reacting to media reports that Raila and Ruto had reached out to the four luminaries with enticing offers such as the Prime Minister's post, campaign refunds, and cabinet positions for any of the Alliance members. The One Kenya Alliance group has been keen on picking one of them to be a flag bearer in the 2022 campaigns. And I think in the other paper, Kalonzo is quoted as saying that he will not play a second fiddle to anybody, and it's not the first time he's saying that. So maybe it's perhaps time we took One Kenya Alliance very seriously about their quest in getting a flag bearer for the alliance, and then going to the next elections. Sharon?
Thank you very much, Miriam. I am still not convinced, by these political vehicles. I tend to call them that keep on threatening to run for presidency in and out of every election, in electioneering period. Now, Kalonzo comes out very strongly as a man of double standards. I find him a duplicit. Was it, barely 3 weeks ago when he said, when you hear them actually looking for me, tell them I am available. What has changed, within a very short period of time that right now he's actually saying he's not going to, play a second fiddle to anyone. Anyway, but, they say in politics, a day in politics is actually an eternity. So I am not so quite, surprised by this. But, from Oka, I am still reading so much division of opinions, especially between Musalia and Kalonzo. It's, a bit, it's actually good to say, Gideon Moi, despite, coming from, a political kingpin family, he's also been able to maintain a level playing field, whereby he actually stands out to be, the calm one that is actually willing to join any party. And even Wetangula, I don't know, Wetangula has actually he's also been quite quiet about this whole issue, and I kept on saying that these Oka principles, why do they think that you are going to have them, all of them, as the presidential bearer? First things first, it's only fair enough for them to even announce at least who is going to be the presidential candidate among the four of the principles, because it's causing unnecessary mayhem even in the political, even in their own followers and even their own leaders. This morning, Miriam was actually watching Citizen TV, and one, MP from Kitutu by the name Richard Onyonka was saying, who happens actually to be the deputy party leader of Ford Kenya. He was saying that he's actually no longer the deputy party leader because for him, he couldn't stay there simply because he believes in voting for Raila. And I can tell you, this is just a tip of the spear. Mm-hmm. We are just expecting so much defections, by the fact that these people have not even declared their own, flag bearer. So it's causing unnecessary confusion. I think for us to actually take them seriously, let them first, start by declaring among the four principles who is actually going to, vie for the presidential bid. As I conclude, when I look at the Eastern Province that now I think Kalonzo has been backing up so much, and for me, from how it's actually ongoing, I would bet with you that he's not going to marshal up that Eastern Province. As we speak, all the three governors have actually talked about Mutua, Ngilu, and the Makueni governor, they've all, shown their interest to actually, support the former prime minister, that is Raila Odinga. So when you look at all these incidences, for me, I think it is only going to be of good if they, put in together their exponential values and all their synergies to work together with their traditional ally. Besides, they've worked before. I don't think there's anything going to, prevent them.
All right, very well, thank you so much. Very well said there, Sharon Gitonga. So now, Samuel Tawish, a very good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Miriam Ogutu. Good morning to Sharon Gitonga and all our viewers.
All right. So yesterday there was a rally in Naivasha where the leaders of One Kenya Alliance were in attendance. And reading this story, it's not very clear if ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi was also part of that entourage. But from what was said yesterday, Kalonzo has reiterated he's not willing to play a second fiddle, especially when it comes to the Deputy President William Ruto or opposition leader Raila Odinga, and is saying One Kenya Alliance is set to go all the way to the polls next year. So everything else that we've been talking about and the possibilities of them joining either the DP or Raila, those are just makings of the media. What do you have to say about that?
Thank you so much, Miriam. I think one thing we all must appreciate about the One Kenya Alliance is that they have actually noticed they do not have any relevance when it comes to the national politics. In fact, Kalonzo, it is even imagining too far that Kalonzo is even talking of becoming a running mate. Because Kalonzo politically seems a man to have been displaced, a man who does not have a clear stand of position. He does not have what you would call unwavering constituency of voters, and therefore he does not even really have any command even to dictate as to whether he should even become a running mate of any serious presidential candidate. We have said it often here, Miriam, and I think I want to reiterate that it is a democratic right of any individual, including myself, really, if I want to put my name on the ballot, as long as I have the minimum qualification, I'll be able to have my name really on the ballot. And I think you saw one of the, a retired military guy who is also saying that he wants to give Raila Odinga and William Ruto a run for their money, that his name will be, it's called Kukuba or something of the sort. I can't quite remember the name. And this tells you clearly, Miriam, that there are people who want just to have their name also get into the history of this country, having contested in an election. And even maybe they are not that serious, or perhaps they want to begin having this kind of discussion so that by the end of the day, they're just strategic. By the end of the day, they'll be able to negotiate their way in terms of getting finances or getting support from this serious presidential candidate. So it will be unwise, for instance, of Kalonzo Musyoka, say Musalia Mudavadi, to come out and declare the support for William Ruto at least this early, or even for Raila Amolo Odinga. They'll have to wait until that last minute when the stakes have gone too high, when they feel like they are needed so much, so that they are even able to bargain for themselves. This is not more of their constituents now. It is more of Musalia Mudavadi as a person. What is it he's going to benefit? How much is he going to bargain for? So he has to rally to go around, do campaign so that he can increase his bargaining power. And you can see the kind of opinion polls that we are having. It is giving them some impetus that assuming Mudavadi and Kalonzo go separate ways if they do not support either of the two leading presidential candidates, then there's likely going to be a runoff. So they are just trying to be strategic in raising their stakes so that when we near now election, say somewhere next year, maybe May, they would have increased their bargaining power in terms of monetary value, how much they're going to be given for them really to sit ground and say, I'm supporting Raila Odinga or William Ruto. So we are waiting really to see. But from where I sit, Miriam, I did not see any of these people really that serious and that they can pull a surprise in as far as unsettling the already status quo that we have. As for Gideon Moya, I know he's just buying his time. It's just a matter of time we'll see him actually join Raila Amolo Odinga, and I assume maybe also Kalonzo Musyoka. But when you look into the body language of Musalia Mudavadi and those around him, it clearly tells you that they're actually they're bidding for someone else, and this person could be Deputy President William Ruto. They say, Miriam, when there's speculation, too much of speculation, you cannot just wish it away, because they have to come out and tell us the true story, the true position. Everybody out here, even a layman, can really be able to tell that maybe Cleophas Malala, an ally of Musalia Mudavadi, is bidding for Deputy President William Ruto, has been told to mark time and not allow Musalia Mudavadi any room or any chance for anybody to come there and maybe run away with Musalia Mudavadi.
Okay, thank you so much. So I want us to move quickly because today we will, come to an end a bit earlier than usual. So I just want us to go through these issues very quickly. And on page 4, and this is a story that I think Dr. Matanga and the rest of you will talk about at 11 in details, but we'll just go through it and see what the Ministry of Health now said yesterday. And it will be mandatory for Kenyans to have coronavirus vaccination certificate to access in-person services in government offices starting December 21st. Cabinet Secretary for Health Mutahi Kagwe yesterday issued a raft of measures that will make it mandatory for Kenyans to attain the certificate to carry out various activities ahead of the festivity season. Among the government services that unvaccinated Kenyans will be locked out from would include Kenya Revenue Authority, Education, National Transport Services Authority, Immigration, Hospital and Prison Visitations, and Port Services, among others. Speaking during a press briefing, Kagwe said it will also be mandatory for all drivers, matatu conductors, boda riders, pilots, air hostesses, and Kenyans working in the transport sector to show a proof of a full vaccination at all times. So, is this likely to take effect? And what is this the right way to ensure that more Kenyans are vaccinated? Sharon, will it be effective?
Miriam, I think, it was quite long overdue, given that, there's actually, there's a deadline to actually meet the threshold of 10 million people by December. And given that we are actually at 5 million, I think this, particular policy was actually quite long overdue. But the process and the implementation and the methodology that has been used to actually achieve this is what is actually questionable. I have, so much questions to ask about this and so much, but I think I'll just cut it down simply because we have other time to speak about it. But I have issues with the time limit that we have, and do we even have finances? Do we have enough?
But by the time the government is giving such is coming out and making such pronouncements, that is because we have enough vaccine in the country. That is just one. There are enough. Yes.
Because we 45 million people in this country, and I don't think the vaccines are even more than 20 million. That is from where I sit. I am not really sure if in fact, some days ago I was seeing that there is a shortage of syringes. So
that was months ago, and it was sorted. We have to be very clear about these facts when it comes to this vaccination, because this is a matter of public interest, and we really have to get our facts right. The syringes are in the country. The vaccines are available, and in line with the target that the government had put between when and the end of this year. So everything that is needed for this exercise is available.
I think you could also talk about that, but I'm also trying to look at the accessibility. When you talk about reaching out to the countrywide, there's the elephant in the room, which is sensitization and public awareness, instead of just imposing policies to people. And remember, that is what happened with IEBC. There was a policy, but then talk about implementation and talk about public awareness and sensitization. People, when I look at people in countries like marginalized counties like Northeastern, these are the counties that have been declared a national disaster. Is a vaccine going to be a priority to them when they're actually trying to look at what can actually just put something on their table? So I think things first. And given that is why I say the timing might not be so viable, given that we have a month. If the CS or the institutions that are involved, I think first things first, I would have actually tried to harness more is a public awareness and sensitization. Remember, there are so many myths that have been going around, especially in the villages. If I can say, I think I had this conversation with one of my with my grandmother, and one thing that she said is that, you know, these vaccines, they've had something to do with anyone who has had an issue with blood clot. So you see, there are so many myths that have been built up, and unless we have a public, you know, a sensitization program and awareness on the need of, you know, having this vaccine, this could actually be an effort in fertility.
And maybe just to add on what you just said there, Sharon, when it comes to sensitization, especially in the villages, like how when you made reference to your grandma, would you think it will be effective if maybe they will use maybe public barazas, the chiefs and, you know, elders down there to just be involved in this process? Do you think that will be effective in convincing?
Yeah. It will actually go a long way, because I look at what polio vaccines are actually done. You know, they could actually use the community health workers to, you know, help them, sensitize them at the grassroots, not necessarily them, and not only, you know, looking at the social media, you know, aspects and, you know, digital marketing, but use other authorities at the grassroots, talk about the chiefs, barazas, and even the community health workers who can go door to door, just like they do. We've seen them run polio vaccines, and they've been run to fruition. So I think that 1 month is what could actually be used to do, you know, sensitization.
Okay, thank you so much. Samuel Tawish, Sharon brought up the issue of accessibility, and even the last time we were having this conversation, it appears there are areas where people have to travel, you know, kilometers upon kilometers to the nearest center that is offering these vaccines. I don't know if there's another way that the government could ensure that in such areas they make it easier, you know, when it comes to accessibility of this vaccine, and also what percentage in the country, because Sharon has also raised the issue of sensitization. From where I see it, I think majority of Kenyans know about this COVID vaccine, but I could be wrong because I don't know. You were in the village the other day. How much awareness is there in the rural areas, and how much are people convinced that having these vaccines is a good thing?
Thank you so much, Miriam. One thing we must appreciate is that actually the vaccine is available. The only thing is it available to each and everyone in terms of logistical challenges. You may be having, for example, if I was to give a case of, say, from where I come from, Transmara, and particularly Kilgoris constituency. So if you have these vaccines being, of course, given in Kilgoris sub-county hospital, and there are people who come from as far as, say, over 50 or some even about 80 kilometers away, they do not have means to get to those places. So it becomes in itself really difficult for these people to access. There are people really who are willing to get these vaccinations, or rather this jab, but they cannot be able to get it because of those logistical challenges. That is one. Second, there's also these people are skeptical. Sharon has spoken about this myth around the jab, where some people feel like it is not that all safe for them. The testimonials that have been given by some of the people who have had this jab and the challenges they have been going through, there are people who feel like they will not want to take this jab, so that maybe they find themselves in similar circumstances. So maybe the government and most of the healthcare practitioners have to come out clearly and be able to carry out an elaborate sensitization program, that which is going to encourage people to go and take this jab, and also make them understand that this jab is safe, and by them taking it, really is going to improve their immunity, and also make it, of course, make it easy or less chances of them infecting the people around them. So how do we then achieve all this? I think it is the responsibility of government to ensure that her people are safe, and that the people can get the healthcare services as and when necessary. And if some people will say desperate measures have to be put in place, like the ones government is putting in place now, I know most people are not going to be comfortable with this, because in the first place, taking this vaccination and jabs was not something that was, you will say, mandatory. It was something out of your own volition to go and take this jab. So when government now comes and say it will be mandatory for you to produce your vaccination certificate before you can get essential government services, I don't think this is the right way. Only that I hope it is just intended to force people to go and take this jab, so that we can be able to achieve that desired percentage of the people who would have taken the jab, say, by close of this year. And remember, we are also getting into the festivity season. a season where people are going to be moving from one place to another, where we're going to have so many festivities. And when you put such kind of stringent measures, then you're likely going to see even queues in hospitals and areas or places where these jabs are being given, people really going there, because otherwise you will be missing yourself in this in getting these very essential services. So I can also assure you, Miriam, that don't be surprised that in the course of this week or even today, a Kenyan will go to court and be able to challenge this particular policy and directive, because it's not anchored on any law. It is just a policy. I do not know whether it is cabinet that has sanctioned it, but I'm very sure that it's going to be challenged in our courts, and the courts are going to quash it, because in itself it is illegal. Maybe government must find other ways on how they are going to approach it or persuade really people to take this jab. But as I wind up on my submission on this particular question, Miriam, I think it is important for us as well to remind our people that they should not wait until government really forces them, that until they are denied essential services, so that they can find it necessary to go and take this job. They should find it as important thing to do, so that they can be able to protect their own lives and those of whom they love.
All right.
I submit, Miriam.
Okay, thank you so much. And I know sometimes you feel as though some of these measures are put in place, and maybe implementation of these measures will not be very, up to par. But from my experience, even trying to visit patients in a hospital during this COVID season has been very difficult. Have you tried visiting a patient even in Kenyatta right now or in any other hospital? They don't allow you. So there's a likelihood that this new directive will be implemented, especially when it comes to government facilities, and anybody who wishes to travel through SGR or take a flight or other public means. But as far as where government institutions are concerned, I can guarantee you that those measures will be there to 100% from what already we've been seeing, trying to access certain institutions during this pandemic, and how strict those measures have been put in place. Very well. So now there is another story on page 6 of the Star newspaper. And IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati has opened a plethora of battlegrounds with stakeholders in the 2022 general election. The Commission's latest swipe targets politicians in premature political campaigns, following a memo to Chief Justice Martha Koome. The IEBC is also at loggerheads with President Uhuru Kenyatta's administration for hiring an agent at the Foreign Affairs Ministry to monitor funds from foreign donors. The commission is further embroiled in a tussle with political parties whose liaison team on Friday accused Chebukati of being a stumbling block to peaceful polls. The Chief Justice got a lashing from the commission after she questioned its preparedness in terms of logistics and hiring of returning officers. Chebukati told of CJ Koome, saying her remarks were uninformed, unfortunate and unwelcome, coming from the head of crucial arm of the government. But it is the latest warning to politicians on the campaign trail that has seemingly reinforced the belief that the Commission is on the warpath with major poll stakeholders. In a task memo, the IEBC has asked political parties and aspirants to hold their horses until issues a notice for general general election. Is Chebukati even serious all this time? Has he not been in this country when these early campaigns started as early as soon after the last elections we had, Sharon?
Miriam, it's quite unfortunate because I also saw the press release that was given by IEBC just the other day. I think it was on Friday or Thursday, and it kept. I had this question that kept on, thinking in my mind, that have they actually been? Does it mean that they don't live in this country, or they just came in and this is the time they've realized that that these people are violating they are going contrary to the constitution by having an early campaign? And it begs the question of does this IEBC is it actually in sync with a certain certain politician? Because that is how the word has been. We've seen case in point of the deputy president, who has even been campaigning even at late at night, even as early as 8 a.m. and they are the IEBC has just been quiet about this matter. They've not been, calling anyone out. They've not been calling anyone out to actually, remind them, besides even it being an early, for them to actually start doing campaigns early. They've not even issued any laws that actually govern, how these campaigns are actually ran. If a whole deputy president is seen, running a campaign as late as 8 a.m., like it was 8 p.m., at night, how is personal security is even guaranteed? Leave alone even violating the laws. How is his security actually? Security is at stake. What if something happens to him? During the late night campaigning. So I think IEBC has deliberately decided to actually fail. And what they say: if you plan to fail, if you plan to fail, you actually fail to plan. So I think this is what they have done deliberately, and it's actually with IEBC. They've just decided to fail completely, from failing to conduct sensitization that was key, from failing to meet the target, and bungling other by elections. I mean, it's high time. For me, I still believe we're still not ready for elections.
All right, very well, Cheryl, thank you. Now, the notice is to be made on March 14th, 2022. The Commission urges all political parties and aspirants to refrain from engaging in early campaigns prior to the general election, said Chebukati, citing concerns over violence. Samuel Tawish, it appears IEBC chairperson has just returned in the country and realized, the past couple of days or weeks, there has been an intense, campaign rallies going on in the country. I mean, he's been here all this time, and the campaign started when?
Miriam, sometimes when we say that Chebukati is a person who is incompetent, a person who should not even be in a position, should not be allowed really to oversee this very critical exercise in the name of elections in this country. Some people think like maybe we are mad. When you wake up and watch Chebukati speak, it is just like he's woken up from slumber the other day. He's been in the country, he's been able to see the kind of campaigns that people have been carrying around, and particularly for Deputy President William Ruto. He began campaigning as early as when he was sworn into office for his second term as a deputy president. He has not slept from that time. He has been carrying out campaigns all over the country. This is an election malpractice, and something which, if followed to the latter, Miriam, can even disqualify the deputy president or anyone really who has been campaigning before time is due. We all understand that IEBC and the election calendar is very clear. This is not the time to do campaigns, but people are campaigning like you'll think election is going to be held tomorrow, Miriam. And we have allowed this kind of culture really to permeate and become a normal business within us, to a point that it's going to set a very bad precedence. And that when we get into an election, immediately we are over with that election, people begin campaigning. We do not even have time to provide services or to even fulfill promises and pledges that we made to the people. That's why you see Deputy President William Ruto now looking for scapegoats and blaming each and everybody and anything for his failure as Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. For the last 9 years or so, he's been in office simply because he deviated his energy and the focus into campaigning for another term and of course, office come 2022. He's not been very keen on implementing the agenda, implementing the pledges they made to the people when they were campaigning. He's left his friend, President Uhuru Kenyatta, trying to piece things together so that to see if he can be able really to meet the target and fulfill his agenda and achieve the legacy before his second and final term comes to an end. And I think this is very, very unfortunate, Miriam, that this is a person who is a second in command to President Uhuru Kenyatta. He should be at the forefront supporting the president, but he's been campaigning all along. I think the bottom line here is the IEBC is behaving like a toothless dog. It cannot bite. It cannot take any action. And the problem that we are also having in this IEBC is because they are that selective. If it was about another presidential candidate, if it was about any other person carrying out campaigns, you would have seen IEBC come to you guns blazing. But because it's Deputy President William Ruto and others, they don't feel like it's a big issue. And even when you see them issuing such kind of statements, it is just for formality purposes. You want to tell me they do not have the capacity, they do not have the legal backing really to take action against these individuals or political parties that are engaging in premature campaigns? They have, but they have just chosen to just watch as helplessly as any other Kenyan. This is very unfortunate for us.
Okay, thank you so much. And as it is expected, whatever IEBC said has already attracted some criticism from other quarters, especially for the allies of ODM leader Raila Odinga. And the directive has jolted politicals who have questioned its timing and why it has not been applied to activities by Deputy President William Ruto-backed United Democratic Alliance. Raila Odinga's ODM side believes the statement is meant to rain on the former Prime Minister's parade following his rising prospects. Raila's advisor, Paul Mwangi, termed the statement very suspicious. He asked why it was released when Raila is about to declare whether he will run for the presidency. The former Prime Minister's lawyer said IEBC issued the warning, knowing very well that if Raila decides to run for the presidency, he might continue with the gatherings like he has been doing with Azimio La Umoja. And I'm seeing this as a target on Azimio, and the IEBC statements is simply an attempt to clamp down on the increasing success of Azimio campaigns. From where you sit, Sharon Gitonga, do these claims hold any water?
Miriam, I tend to actually believe, it just, dawned in me that this particular pronouncement, especially by the IEBC, has just come when the former Prime Minister is set, to announce and to actually announce his, candidate, presidential bid come 2022. Because it actually, when you look at the Deputy President, just like Tawish has said, this man has been campaigning ever since, for years and years. And and the former Prime Minister was not, had not even started campaigning. There was nothing that had been imposed. Why is it then that right now that he's set to actually announce his candidature, his presidential bid? Is a time that, IEBC is trying to come up and, try to show how much, now they're actually trying to condemn all the politicians that are actually, conducting, premature campaigns. So I largely agree with that statement, Miriam.
Okay, thank you so much. And the IEBC is also at loggerheads with President Uhuru Kenyatta's administration for hiring an agent at the Foreign Affairs Ministry to monitor funds from foreign donors. And any Kenyan with, who is level-headed would not find that to be a problem, because if this is a very important institution as far as our elections are concerned. So whatever is happening there, the government should be knowing what is happening, and especially when it comes to foreign donors. Samuel Tawish, why would IEBC have a problem with that?
Miriam, the simple answer is that they fear transparency and accountability, because they are sure when they operate in opaqueness, when there's nobody actually, poking their eyes on what they are doing, they are able really to maneuver and be able to siphon public funds, and including even the foreign donations. So I think first it was right. It was right that President Uhuru Kenyatta found it fit, and this is something that all Kenyans have been really calling for. That we need really to be able to interrogate and be able to monitor how IEBC is spending taxpayers' money, because they have to be doing the right thing. They really have to do the right thing, because it is not lost to us what happened in 2017. A bungled presidential election, one which was overturned by the Supreme Court, one of its kind in the African continent, and third in the world, for a sitting president's re-election to be overturned in a court, simply because the IEBC did not quite carry this election in a way that did satisfy the Kenyan people and even the observers. So in itself, Miriam, IEBC and more so its chair is still a man who is indicted, is a man who has really to do much to gain the confidence, faith, and trust from Kenyans, even as he thinks or even as he prepares really to oversee the coming election. election. That's why I usually tell you this, Miriam and my colleague panelists, that Kenya is the only funniest country really in this continent, if not in the world, that you can have an IEBC, a chair, to be particular, who oversaw an election which was bungled, an election which was overturned by the Supreme Court, and we are still preparing yet for another election 5 years down the line. We are still very comfortable with this very chair. I think something is wrong with us. Maybe somebody bewitched us. I cannot understand. What will happen if this election, what will really hinder Kenyans from contesting the outcome of next year's general election, Miriam, if indeed it's going to take place? Because already there's enough ground for people really to come out and challenge the IEBC and challenge Wafula Chebukati, because as far as we are concerned, is the chief returning officer in the presidential election. So he bungled the previous election, but we are comfortably waiting him to referee yet another very critical election, one which we are going to have a transition. This is very unfortunate for this country. In fact, it is my thinking, and if it is possible, that maybe we should even think about how to have to remove Wafula Chebukati from office before we get into any election. Because going with him, the way it is currently constituted, the IEBC, Miriam, I can quite tell you, there could not be even that synergy. Collegiability in that particular commission may not be there, because even the people who are coming in were witnesses and they saw what happened in the previous election. They are coming in with skepticism, with suspicion as to whether the colleagues who are still in office can really be able to work with them together seamlessly to deliver a free, fair and credible election.
All right. Thank you so much. And as we come to an end, Sharon, you will conclude for us. And now the IEBC does not just have a problem with the government or the political parties or the politicians who are having earlier campaigns, but it appears now it is at loggerheads with the judiciary, and specifically the head of judiciary, Chief Justice Martha Koome. And the Chief Justice got a lashing from the commission after she questioned its preparedness in terms of logistics and hiring of returning officers. Chebukati told of CJ Koome, saying her remarks were uninformed, unfortunate and unwelcome, coming from the head of a crucial arm of government. And I think Chief Justice Martha Koome was just asking, I think, questions that many Kenyans would like to have answers to. Are you prepared from what we've been seeing and all these news we've been seeing that are not favorable, and perhaps seems as though IEBC has a lot of issues that has not been resolved, and in regards to even the time frame towards next year's election. So the Chief Justice asked, are you prepared? Are you ready to have, do you have in terms of logistics and hiring of returning officers? And the reply that he got from Chebukati was, Chief Justice, your remarks are uninformed, your remarks are unfortunate and also unwelcome, coming from the head of the crucial arm of the government.
Miriam, it's quite unfortunate that IEBC actually thinks that they're actually going to succeed working in isolation. And, when it comes to transparency and accountability, and to even restore the confidence that has been eroded by Kenyans, all we want to see is, the art of, transparency and accountability. I mean, Martha Koome has all the right, even the president has all the right to actually question their preparedness. When you talk about even hiring the returning officers, I also wonder, have they even been able to capacity build, the commissioners that were just commissioned the other day? Remember, these are people that have not had, have not been had any experience. We've not seen anything on the media, or rather even from any spotlight of them actually trying to capacity build these commissioners, or even, I think it's only wise for the IEBC to be, to keep on updating, not just even, the executive and not just, the judiciary, but all the Kenyans, everyone on board, to actually, keep on giving them, this every step that they actually take, so that it can, it's going to, bring back the trust and the confidence that has been eroded over time. So I think this in itself should actually speak volume about, how, IEBC is trying to work in isolation. Let them come out of isolation and involve, the public and the executive and all the arms of the government all together in every step that they actually take. Miriam, I submit.
All right, thank you so much. And I'm afraid I will have to end the show a bit earlier today. So thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for your sentiments this morning, Sharon Gitonga and Samuel Tawish. This has been Good Morning Africa at 11 a.m. There will be a conversation on that new directive by the Ministry of Health about places that people who have not been vaccinated cannot access. So that is a conversation that will continue and will be led by Dr. David Matanga. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Miriam Ogutu. Bye-bye for now.